to Roman numeral 7, introduction and adoption of ordinances. We have a public hearing tonight, an IFE for Cobra Moto LLC at 250 Industrial Drive. So we'll go there. How does council want to do this? Do you want to chat about this first, ask our questions? Should we open the public hearing right away? Yeah, it's usually better to get some information before opening the podium.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'd like to just briefly introduce this item. So, Cobra Moto has submitted an application for an industrial facilities tax exemption certificate. This is in connection with their new facility at 250 Industrial Drive, which is located right adjacent to their current facility at 240 Rand Street. The goal with this building, which is formerly used as a warehouse, is to make some building improvements and have it serve as a site where they can move their clean operations into it. They're a growing company that is making a significant investment in Hillsdale. The improvements they're making to this facility are in excess of $500,000. They are reporting that in connection with this project, it's going to yield at least 15 jobs. These jobs are fairly high paying by Hillsdale standards, very skilled, technical positions. It was one of the things we discussed when the Economic Development Corporation was reviewing it is, how good the jobs are that are in connection with this project. The EDC board did recommend approval of this tax abatement. Cobra Moto is seeking 12 years. Per the city's policy on abatements, if you invest more than $500,000, then 12 years is the maximum that you can request, as well as by law for this type of tax abatement. Just really quick, I wanted to, for those who weren't here in the early 2000s, I just want to say something briefly about Cobra. They were originally located in Youngstown, Ohio, and they actually relocated to Hillsdale in 2006. They chose to move here, and they've really grown with the city over the last decade or two in terms of numbers of employees. They have a Cobra Aero, which is kind of a sister company as well. They're doing a lot of cutting edge stuff. They primarily manufacture with Cobra Moto high performance motocross and off-road youth motorcycles. They have an electric bike now that they produce. So this is very cutting edge technology stuff for Hillsdale. Their CEO, Sean Hilbert, is a huge proponent of Hillsdale. He wants to continue and grow his company here. Quite frankly, they've reached a stage where they could choose to relocate to other markets, but they continue to actively invest in Hillsdale. And so, for all those reasons, our Economic Development Corporation felt that this is a very worthwhile project, and they are recommending approval. Were there any questions for me specifically about the abatement before you opened it up for public comment?
Councilman Bentley.
I didn't write it down, but I thought Miss Sally Clark had a different number of jobs. Can she speak to that, or you?
So the application, on the application, you just report the minimum number of jobs associated with this project. They have, again, a number of things underway. So it could be adding many more employees across the whole company, but that's just, the number here, 15, is just what they project as being a result of this project within 2 years of completion.
The minimum.
The minimum, correct. And we do have, I should note, we do have Sheena Sigler here, who's our Director of Talent Operations. If there are any questions from council specifically directed to Cobra Moto or about their project, she's very knowledgeable about that. So.
Sounds good. Anything else from council? Would you like to speak before we open the podium in a general way?
I can. Like to.
Up to you.
Sure. So we purchased the 15 acres on the other side of our building a couple of years ago with the intention of building another facility there. When MTI brought it to our attention that they were going to sell 250 Industrial and make the move to the old Paragon building, that's when we decided to just make the investment and own the entire side of Urian Street, which we do now. We've already started renovations of 250 Industrial. I think as of today, we are at In 2 months' time, $117,000 that we have invested into that building. I would encourage you to stop by. It looks beautiful inside. To speak to your question about the 70 jobs, so 2 weeks ago, Friday, we closed on another piece of business that we'll be bringing to Hillsdale. Matter of fact, the first truck of inventory left Ashburn, Virginia today and is headed back to Hillsdale. Company name is Vertical Autonomy. It will also be located at 250 Industrial. It will be a partial rental space, and that's where the 70 jobs comes in. And that's where we project within 3 years it will be a $28 million company. It's making the unmanned aircraft. So not just the engines, but the actual drone aircraft. We're working heavily with the Hillsdale Airport, Jackson Airport, and Grayling, the military base there to increase that COA. So lots of really exciting things coming. Jackson County and Lenawee County both came to Cobra and asked us to come to their communities, and it was really important for us to stay here in Hillsdale and keep investing in our community here and the people that make up this community. So we would greatly appreciate the tax abatement if you'll approve it. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for being in Hillsdale. Anything else from council? Councilman Flynn.
This is a win-win-win all around. I don't see any bad things for the city of Hillsdale not to approve this when the moment comes here in a minute, because this just, Cobra Moto, since day one, I've known Phil since they came to town from day one. They've done outstanding things, and especially in the why Hillsdale. Well, I've stopped asking why. Just like, hey, they're here, let's try to make the best of it for them. If they want to invest another $28 million business in Hillsdale, we should not say no.
Thank you, Councilman Flynn. Councilman Wolfram.
I would just like to say that for the thousandth time, I agree with Councilman Flynn, particularly on this issue.
Thank you, Councilman Wolfram. Anything else from council before we open the podium? Another? Councilman Dunn?
You mentioned talking about the mechanics of the IFE and the abatement and such.
Yeah,
So I
right.
would invite you to do that.
Yeah.
And my specific concern is not this situation. It does seem great, but the precedent and my ignorance of how these work, and if there's any leverage, unlike other situations we've come in. So is there contract? Is there some kind of leverage if things go sideways?
So the IFE, unlike the Oprah, does have a contract attached to it. Yeah, I don't know, Tom, would you like to explain, or Sam, some of the distinctions here? I think the concern is with what we experienced with cork oil. This does seem different because this is an operational business in the city of Hillsdale right now. But yeah, maybe explain a bit of the mechanics of it, what the contract is allowed to do.
So if you look in your packet, there is what they call an industrial facilities exemption certificate letter of agreement. So the state law requires that when a city approves a local tax abatement, it executes a letter of agreement with the company that functions very much like a contract in the sense that it lays out, what the party's going to do as far as their investment, the number of jobs they're going to create, and then it does specify, and the city, has relief if a company wants to take advantage of a tax abatement but do nothing or not fulfill the terms. We did go down that road before with cork oil, and the city recommended that the state tax commission revoke the certificate. So the city always reserves the right to recommend the state tax commission revoke the certificate if the conditions of the abatement weren't met. So that is the relief mechanism that's baked into the PA 198, which is the law that permits this.
And could you explain the difference in tax valuations between the Oprah and the IFE?
Yeah, so with an Oprah, you're freezing taxable value. With this specifically, which is an IFE for a new facility, it is you take the ad valorem tax rate, you multiply it by 50%. And so it is for the components that are, listed as part of the project. So it is for the building improvements, it's for the new facility.
So the difference here is when the IFE expires, they are charged the full taxable value in year 13, including the improvements.
Correct, and that is the same with overall. Once the certificate expires, their tax rate gets adjusted back up.
Right.
So it's tax relief for the 12 years that the certificate has been issued by the state tax commission, and then it goes back to the full ad valorem rate.
Anything else from council? Councilman Bruns?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. This seems very good. But just sort of following up on what Councilman Bailey was saying, I suppose this is a question for the attorney, maybe Mr. Fry. For the city, from the city's perspective, what is the worst case scenario outcome based on this particular letter of agreement?
I'm not sure what you mean by worst case scenario. Can you be a little bit
I
more
mean, is
specific?
there, Corcoil, for instance, when we revoked or requested that the state revoke their certificate, did we receive anything back that they owed us from that?
So you're essentially talking about the clawback provision that's in the letter. So there is a clawback provision that says that if it does get revoked, the city can claw back any taxes that were foregone during the certificate. As far as the status of the Corcoil one, I'm not sure 100%. I don't know that we've collected on that yet. I think that's something that we're still exploring from a legal standpoint. Is that right?
Yeah, they've been invoiced, it has not been paid.
Is there a court judgment requiring them to pay that invoice? Is it a request at this point?
At this point, I believe it's still a request.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some issues with respect to ownership of the various assets. And the problem is going to be getting at something that allows, because one of the problems you have with a company that is not currently in business is they may not have assets from which you can satisfy a judgment, and all they can simply do is just declare bankruptcy or dissolve the company, and then you are left with no actual recourse. We're exploring ways to address that.
Okay. So I think that's in the win-win-win scenario, that's the loss column. So I think it's a judgment call for council about whether they have the assets and the history to fulfill this obligation. And in this case, it seems, in my judgment, that the answer is yes, but that is the possible downside.
Just to add into that, so as Sam indicated, your biggest remedy to try and head that off, right, is if it's clear that they're not doing what they're supposed to do, to not continually give them, because that's one of the issues with Corcoil, right, is they kept coming and asking for more time, to every time it came up for consideration to terminate their IFE, they were given more time to try and get into compliance. And so that's part of what creates the issue, is the quicker you act to say, okay, we're gonna stop this, the less of a negative impact there can be in terms of lost potential tax revenue.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and there's also, I guess, the sunk cost of the building. You could have someone else providing employment and production in the city. Yes, Mr. Fry.
I was just gonna, so one additional item, I just want to remind everyone, if you look at the tax impact analysis statement, the total cumulative taxes foregone by all taxing entities for the certificate is about $79,000. Of that share, it's only about $17,000 of city taxes that we're talking about for this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a relatively small amount that the city is foregoing in exchange for the benefits, enumerated in here.
Hmm.
And it's different than with Corcoil because it was a much larger amount, right?
And that was just based on the size of the property? Because the time frame was also
The
12
investment.
years.
So his was also a rehab, so his taxable value was frozen at the value when he purchased it under that IFE. With this one being a new facility instead of a rehab, the tax rates are different, and this one, we still assess the full value of the property, they just pay a lower tax rate.
Okay, that's helpful. Councilman Bentley?
Kim, can you remind us, the invoice number? What's the amount of it?
Somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000.
Thank you.
About 235 comes to mind. I don't know if that's...
And I think this is my final comment question for the attorney. The other thing besides Corville, which has got me jittery, and forgive us for going through this. I don't think this is any jeopardy for what we're doing tonight, but the Dawn Theater contract, the CO Red, turned out to be unenforceable. So can you say a word or two about that?
I don't know, I haven't been asked to review that, so I couldn't tell you whether it would be my opinion that it's unenforceable.
I believe CL Red agreed to 15 years for ownership and management of the Dawn Theater, and they did 3 or 4, I believe.
30 years.
That was a lease agreement.
A lease agreement. It's a different type of agreement.
No, I know it's not mine.
It does demonstrate the general problem, though, that you might have a contract that you might not be able to fully enforce it. Yeah, that's why we're asking these questions. Anything else from council or staff?
Well, all I was going to say is that anytime you have a contract, as they say in law school, the law of contracts is to allow contracts to be broken and to have the parties resort to, their remedies to accomplish that, because in commerce and in business, sometimes it's beneficial to break a contract. So.
Right. One question I had, the 5-year renovation period, they said they've already spent, 120, 117 in 2 months. Why the 5-year renovation period? That doesn't change anything about the tax abatement. All it does is set a timeline. But the full tax abatement is in effect during that 5-year period, just like in Oprah.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from council? Very good, thank you. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Flynn, seconded by Councilman Soha. All in favor?
Aye.
The public hearing is open. The podium is open. You may speak for 3 minutes on Cobra Moto.
Do I push the button?
Yeah. I don't see a light.
James Edward Thomas, 2200 Bar Street. Actually, Cobra Motorcycle and Apple Run are my neighbors, great neighbors. Fully in support of it. I happen to know on good reporting that the employees of Cobra Motorcycle are paid so well that they kind of drink more expensive energy beverages, and they are not so much worried about the pop return, that they are kind enough to donate almost $100 every month to an organization that provides food to the needy through one of the local food banks. They're pretty outstanding people. Phil is an outstanding neighbor, and it seems like a quad win to me. Thank you.
Terrible pun. Thank you.
Okay. Ice cream. Ice cream. I want to build a dairy here for one of the big supermarkets
John,
that's here.
name and address first.
I'm sorry.
Name and address first, please.
Oh, John Beckwith, live out Lake Wilson. Used to be in town, and went to school here, graduated in '66. Boy, it's a long time ago. But I'm in the ice cream business. I created a lot of different ice cream concepts that I want to bring to Hillsdale. And I think we.
John, is this a comment about Cobra Moto's IFE?
Well, I'm just talking about ice cream.
Okay, could you come up at the public comment at the end of the meeting?
I'll be more than happy to do that. It's okay for you all.
Yeah.
Okay?
It is your right, sir.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What are you guys talking about? What are you all talking about? Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
No, it's fine. You want to talk about it?
Any other comments on the IFE? Very good. I will close the podium. Any more council discussion, comment, anything else from staff?
I make a motion that we accept the IFE for Cobra Moto.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Flynn, seconded by Councilman Morrissey. Any discussion? Last chance. Could I have a roll call, please?
Yes, Councilperson Flynn,
Yes.
Morrissey,
Yes.
Soha,
Yes.
Stuchel,
Yes.
Wolfram,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bellino,
Yes.
Councilperson Medley,
Yes.
and Bronze.
Yes.
6-0 approved.
So we are getting, when are we getting the reports? January 30th, 31st? Did I read that? End of December? We're getting a yearly report from Cobra Moto, is that correct? Could we have those just scheduled to be on the agenda? I don't know that we saw them. I don't remember seeing the annual reports from Corkwell. In fact, maybe we didn't get them. Was that it? Maybe that was the point of discussion.
No, council did receive
Oh,
those
we did,
reports
okay.
because they did not complete the reports accurately, and that's
That's
why
right.
staff brought it to council
Okay.
to recommend revoking.
Okay, could you bring those forward,
Yes.
whether it's excellent or not in compliance, either way?
Yep, absolutely.
And does council, I believe they offered a tour. Does council want to do that together? Should we schedule separately? It's worth a tour.
I think it would be easier probably than everybody who just did it all at once.
That'd be great. Sam, would you mind scheduling that, sending out some prospective times for us? Thank you very much. Anything else on Cobra before we move on?
Mayor.
Oh, yes.
Just a reminder, if
Yes.
you're all gonna go, don't discuss anything about it while you're there.
And 4 at a time to be safe, right? 2 separate tours.
That actually would probably be best, so you have less than 4.
That's why you have an 8-person council. You don't get in any trouble. Okay, very good. We will move on to Roman numeral 8, old business, letter A, Campo. Ms. Thomas is on this. So she presented us a long, detailed history, which Mr. Thomas read almost all of. Okay.
So I did just want to clarify, one thing that Missy said when she came up to the podium. As I stated in my report, there was a tentative plan submitted to the county building inspector to look at. There have been no formal applications submitted for permits, either for zoning or building that I'm aware of. And I did receive an email from Mr. Taylor over at the building office. He sent this morning stating that, just to clarify, the architect asked that plans not be shared until complete. He had submitted to our office for preliminary comment only. The last correspondence was on 9/25, that plans would be wrapping up for all submissions. So we have not received any applications.
What did the preliminary report tell you?
I have not seen those preliminary plans. Those were strictly submitted to the county building inspector for review.
I see. Okay. Okay. Anything else or questions, comments from council? So you're providing 2 options, correct?
Yes.
My question on option number 1, does the consent judgment doesn't compel you to act, it gives you the authority to act?
Correct.
Okay.
We are not required to do that. That just authorizes us to do so if we determine that that's what the necessary next step.
Okay. And that came in about a week ago?
Yes.
Okay. Have you taken steps to move toward goal number 1, or are you waiting on council authorization?
I am waiting for council to tell me how you would like me to move forward.
Okay. Oh yes, thank you.
Well, we actually have taken the primary step, which is to submit the affidavit of non-compliance. So the way when I put together the consent judgments, is that basically as soon as we submit that affidavit of non-compliance, that authorizes the city, gives them the right to enter onto the property so they're not a trespasser by what we report, and also perform whatever work it says in the judgment that you're allowed to perform to bring the property into compliance. In this case, defense structure, but it's at the city's option, right? Because you have to have the money to be able to do that and the desire to do it. There may be some instances where we get that order, but it's not a big enough thing, or it's too big a thing for the city to deal with at that time, but it does give you the authority to do it.
Okay, thank you. Can the city do this work internally? Have you determined that yet?
Jason believes that his staff would be able to do it.
Okay. Would that come out of your budget, his? Would there need to be a new allocation?
It would come out of our code enforcement budget,
Okay.
and then, it would be billed back to the property owner.
Oh, okay. As a lien on the property, I assume if it's not.
Well, actually, so again, the judgments are set up, so that it is assessed both personally against the property owner, or in this case, against the company that's the property owner, and as a lien on the property, so it's both. You could pursue the property owner separately, civilly for payment of that. We have done that in the past.
Okay.
Just in case, for example, one of the places where you can run into a problem with that is if we get, only have the judgment provide for a lien, but does not assess it directly against the property owner. If they let it go down to taxes, and it goes to tax sale, that lien gets wiped out. So that's a hedge, so that you still have an avenue to pursue collection in case it does go down to tax foreclosure.
Okay. Has the city prepared an estimate of the cost?
We have it.
Option number 2, additional civil infractions for each day the violation continues. So this would be, how would this be billed? Would this be the third offense, like $150 a day?
Yes, so it would go, they've had their first offense.
Yep.
The next one would be second offense level, and then third and all subsequent.
Okay. And the court also authorizes.
Right, the court, well, they would have the option of either paying it directly to our office within the 10 days, or if they don't pay it within the 10 days, it becomes a civil infraction citation at the court level, and then the court would assess those fines. And their fines are higher than ours.
The city would have to defend each fine?
Not necessarily.
Well, we actually don't defend it, we're the prosecutor.
Or prosecute it, thank you.
So it depends on whether or not they voluntarily pay, or, so it's a two-step thing. The city issues a notice of violation, okay? Which, if paid within 10 days at the city, has a lower fine rate, okay? And then that's it, if they pay it, that's it. If they do not pay it, then that ticket becomes a civil infraction citation if submitted to the district court for processing. At that point, they again would have the opportunity to pay the ticket at the district court with the higher fines that are assessed by the district court, or to have it set for a hearing. And typically, we have an arrangement with the court where we request a hearing if it is submitted to the court, to avoid code enforcement matters, people just coming in and paying the fine, and then we don't get that kind of consent judgment or an order that they have to bring the property into compliance. But typically what the court would do is set up for a hearing. Now, if we don't indicate that we want to have a hearing, then they will allow the person to just pay it, or the entity to pay it at the county or district court. And you can do that because our ordinance provides that each day is a separate offense, the track violation. So you can theoretically issue a citation every day.
Okay. But option number 2 doesn't lead anywhere in particular. There is no greater judgment that the court can provide.
It's strictly a financial penalty
Okay.
for every day that the violation continues.
Okay.
And if I understand, option 2 doesn't preclude option 1 later on.
No.
Right?
Okay, good point. Thank you,
No,
Councilman Bruns.
Yeah, because you have that judgment. So the judgment has given you the authority at this point to go on and remove the structure if you so desire. Now, there is one thing, if you choose that route, it's important for me to know, because you do have the issue that people are inhabiting in, which could raise an issue if they don't want to leave. So what I would do is file a motion with the district court asking the judge to specifically order that the people can be, in effect, evicted from the.
So the consent judgment is to tear down the camp, not to evict
Right.
currently.
Right, because we are not landlords
Citing
or
that,
lessors, But we can get an order of the court requiring the defendant to have the place cleared out for us.
Okay. And how long would that take?
I imagine by the time I got here in a day, 2-3 weeks.
Okay, so not as long as the first step. And the consent judgment has no time limit on it? Okay. I think those are all my procedural questions. I just wanted to get that all laid out there so we know exactly what we're discussing. Councilman Bentley?
So, after a number of days, 3, I guess, and if you continue to serve them every day, it would accrue $150, and pretty soon that would get the attention of the landlord, and they'd have to make some business decisions.
So,
Because there's a lien, there would be a lien, not automatically, but there could be.
so the other, BMAC Charity Thrifts is, for our purposes, the legal owner of the property because they have a land contract. The land contract holder has not been involved in any of this at this point.
And they don't have that kind of equity in there. Would there be a way to get the other entity on the hook?
So, the way the land contracts work is that legal title rests in the seller, but what they call equitable title rests in the buyer who is in possession of the premises. So presumably in terms of a violation, it's likely that the court would only enforce against the buyer, not the seller, because the seller has no control over what happens on the property while it's under land contract.
But there would be a lien eventually, and that's against the property itself, whoever might.
Yes, so any cost that the city would incur would be a lien on the property.
Okay. Good, thank you. Anything else from council? Is that Councilman Soha?
Yeah, so the compassionate side of me, of course, wants to help people, but again, I've said this multiple times from here, I applaud the effort, but we have complaints from Apple Run Apartments multiple times. Those complaints never came to us before the advent of Camp Hope, and we're allowing, the city's allowing our codes to be violated for 2.5 years now. We had the eviction last winter, we had compassion, here we are coming up on another winter, and none of the permits have been filed, although I applaud the formation of a board. We had another complaint tonight from the Apple Run Apartments. I don't see this coming to fruition, and although I appreciate the effort, I think it's past time for us to enforce our laws, or why continue to happen. So I would like us to discuss option 1 or 2. I don't see how option 2 accomplishes anything except putting a lien on the property over time. But I'm willing to discuss that further.
Yeah, I'm also not seeing exactly the point. I guess you're just trying to financially pressure them to do what the city would have to pay to do, or at least only pay up front, not on the back end. Yes, Mr. Mackey.
That is correct. The option 2 basically starts compiling the financial burden for keeping it there, and the idea is that at some point they decide that they've been fined enough and they would remove it on their own. That's basically what option 2 allows for.
Yes, Councilman Soha.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Additionally, I don't think, as I've considered the location, I don't think that that location is probably the best for the city to have a facility of this type.
Another point of clarification, if the city pursues option one, this doesn't affect the plan in the long term if it does come to fruition, right? It's just that the
Correct.
tent will not be there in the interim.
Correct, they still have the option of submitting a site plan review to the planning commission for approval to convert the building for use as, transitional housing, I believe is what they're referring to it now as. So, that's still an option down the road. This just takes care of the problem with the structure that was put up without permits.
Okay. And remind us of I think we asked this last time, so apologies, what is the zoning there?
It's B3, so it's general business, the same as out by Meyer, that whole stretch of 95.
That allows for housing.
In certain conditional circumstances.
And transitional housing is one of them?
Not specifically listed, that's why it needs to go to planning commission for approval.
Do you recall the language?
So, when I went through the B3 zoning, what I was seeing was that they could put residential on a second floor, just like you could in the downtown. I'm not seeing where it allows for residential by itself. It does allow for like motels, hotels, you know, that type of,
Okay.
of housing. What we're talking about here is more of like a dormitory style housing. That is not specifically listed as a permitted use in the B3.
Okay, so you're not convinced by the argument in general, but that's planning commission's judgment.
That would be a call for the planning commission.
Okay, all right, that's helpful too, thank you. Councilman Bentley.
So to be clear, whichever one of these we choose tonight, the campers are not gonna be scattered in the next days or even weeks. Like, they have a play after whatever we decide tonight, and they're not gonna be on the trails necessarily in the next, like.
That,
that's what
I can't speak to what their options are. I don't know what their options are. At this point, that building is not, suitable for housing. The one that they're talking about converting.
Yeah, and it says begin eviction proceedings against the campers.
Mhm.
So that's what I thought, but then you said something 2 minutes ago that made me think I didn't understand.
No, they are talking about converting the back building. There's two permanent structures on the property. They're talking about converting one of those buildings for transitional housing. It's not suitable for housing right now. It needs, I believe it needs showers and some other things added to it. So, I don't know what they would have, what kind of arrangements would we have to make for those campers as far as housing.
I think what you're getting at, Councilman Bentley, is that our legal needs an eviction judgment in addition to the consent judgment to take down the structure in order to do it, and we're looking about 2 weeks for that, so probably about a month for the city to actually do the option one.
And that means the sheriff showing up and physically evicting people.
So you have to remember, this isn't an eviction proceeding because we don't own, the city doesn't own the property, right? So it doesn't go through the regular kind of eviction process. What we would be doing is asking the court, because they have not complied with the judgment, to have EMAK Charity Thrifts have the people who are in that structure removed from the structure so that the city can remove it if they don't. One of the things they could do is, depending on what you decide tonight, they could decide themselves tomorrow to take down the tent structure. If they did that, then, I mean, the city doesn't have to do anything, and those folks would have to find, that were living there, would have to find someplace else to go. So, there's still the chance that they could comply and not require the city to have to go on and yeah, it's probably gonna be, I would say, more like 3 or 4 weeks before you would actually be in a position to where they would have the obligation then by a court order to get the people out of that zone.
Okay. And Share the Warmth opens November 1st, correct? Okay. Councilman Wolfram.
Could they still have just small tents?
No,
No.
So this, to follow up on that, this consent judgment prevents camping on the premises. If they take down this tent,
we do not have any place in the city except for a licensed campground where camping is permitted.
so what was the purpose of the Tri-County Health Agency saying you're in compliance?
Because under state law,
Okay,
they no longer had more than 4 tents.
okay. And
If
that's
you
why-
had 4,
yeah,
if you have 5 or more, you are required to have a campground license.
I see. Okay, so that's why the health agency didn't get involved.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from council? Very good. Does council want to hear? Yes,
I
Councilman
was just
Sola.
saying, I mean, the city's looking for direction from us. We don't have to give it if we don't want to. Right, that's an option.
Doing nothing is always an option. Not
I'm
always.
not in favor of it, I'm just saying it's an option.
Thank you, Councilman Sola. Councilman Bentley.
Forgive me, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but, so, you know, don't answer if you don't want to, but I assume you have a preference. You don't want to say. You
I
should-
know what I would do if I were the only one making the decision.
So, I'm not sure I completely understand, but it seems less onerous to Camp Hope if we go with option 2, and yet we are accruing, like, it is costing them something.
Right.
The temperature is going up, they're putting real skin in the game that we can, and we can always go back to 1. So I guess my default, unless anybody else wants to say anything, is option 2.
Just use Camp Hope, send it all toward the downtown events funding.
Well, we don't, I mean, it's down the road, but the point is, at least theoretically, the temperature is rising, and it's not, you know, if they they have a decision to make of how they respond to it, because, so that just seems intuitively like the right way to go, because we can always go back to 1, and we can even give them a final, like, yeah, we're gonna do this for a while, and if we don't see something different, then in 6 weeks, we're gonna take presumably the harsher one. I don't know.
I see what you're saying. Intuitively, to me, it seems the purpose of government is to enforce the law. Fines are a means to do that, but not an end in themselves, I suppose. Yes, Mr. Mackey.
So I guess my question would be for Tom. If they decided to go the route of 2, in that period, could you pursue the eviction notice in case that it gets to that point? So we don't have to wait another 3 weeks or 4 months?
Yes, the court might have, the district court might have an issue with us pursuing remedy number 2. Only because, you know, then they've got a citation coming like every day or once a week or however often that they have to deal with. And then, you know, I have to go in front of the judge. I can't tell you for sure that the judge will say that they've got to move the people out of there. I can assume she likely would, because you obviously can't take the structure down unless they take some action to make sure that the people are out of there. But yeah, we could do that. We could do both. There's no reason why we couldn't. The court's gonna wonder why we keep citing them if we've got a judgment though, and we're asking for the court to provide us with relief so that we can carry it out.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. It seems that we're sort of admitting that this isn't really for the health and safety of our residents, and we'll just use our citizens as a kind of cash cow. I understand your point, but it seems to me that this ordinance has a purpose. That purpose is connected to public health and safety. We have the means to enact that, and we, I think, should pursue it.
like to make the motion?
I'm fine making the motion. I was gonna call Mrs. Deschark now unless there was an objection from the council.
No, I was gonna suggest that also.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Is there an objection from the council? I was rereading the rules of procedure. You all can overrule me bringing someone up if seven of you decide to, so just so you know that.
Keep that in our pocket.
Yes. Would you like to speak? Mrs. Deschark, thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Questions, or would you like to?
Just ask me questions, it'll just be better that way.
Okay, Councilman Bentley.
Given that we are, I think, gonna choose one of these options, which one is less onerous to you?
So, as I've stated, and as Mr. Stuchel has stated in the past, what I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do it. And I accomplished that. And like I said, we hired the engineer. The engineer said it needed to go to the county inspector first before we wasted anyone's time. The county inspector wanted to make sure that it would be compliant before it got sent to the city. Then the city would send it to the planning commission, and then the planning commission would make the decision from there. If they vote no, I go to, what's it called, Kim? The Board of Appeals. And then from there, it would go to court if we had to go that far. What we're calling it is non-transient boarding facility. So it's essentially just like transitional housing. It's also just kind of like a motel that really is kind of free. But it's sober living, complete sober living. That's what we're gonna be providing for. It's, right now the blueprint is for 16 people. We have blueprints to, if we can continue, to build a bigger kitchen with 2 other bathrooms and showers, another facility that would be right here, and it would be like a 2-story. We would be able to house more people. The thing about it is that I know everybody's got an opinion when it comes to how we're gonna do homelessness. And by the way, you made the comment that there was already a complaint that already came in. I want you all to know that my property now has cameras everywhere. So whatever the complaint was, I would really like to know about what time it happened. I'd like to see it on camera, if it happened. I just wanted to let you know that, because all these complaints are coming in, and so I installed cameras everywhere. So the thing about it is that we can either do this, if you wanna do it, it's up to you guys. Of course, if you wanna fine us every single day, I'll find the money. I'll make sure it's paid. I mean, it's ultimately up to you guys. You know, I've explained this before, that the reason why we did it was to get them off the trails. We got them off the trails and waited for a shelter. The shelter never came. Something had to be done, right? So this is what we're moving towards. If you all don't want any kind of assistance for homelessness in this town, that's up to you guys. But I want to support those that are at the very lowest. I want to support the man who was assaulted at the AFC home, which I'm going to talk about the compassion part, but what do? Where do they go? He was assaulted in an AFC home, walked all the way from Osseo, went to Lifeways. Lifeways sent him to me. What do we do with the 18-year-olds that get kicked out after they're done in their foster home? I can't tell you, we've had over 320 people in the last 2.5 years. Where do we take them then?
Councilman Bentley?
So again, I'm fairly confident we're gonna do one of these 2 tonight, so which one would?
Oh, so, number 2, where it says the capitalized OR, bring it into compliance. The planning commission has to see it first before,
So number 2.
Yeah, so number 2, but it says or. So like it says number 2 and then it says or.
That's between 1 and 2. Well, either one
No,
or is another.
in number 2, there's a big
Oh, I see.
or.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm like, oh gosh, mine is wrong then.
Nope.
I'm sorry that I couldn't do it sooner. It took a long time. The engineer worked on it for a solid 2 weeks. you know, I had no idea. I mean, everything is mapped out on that blueprint that I've never even seen a blueprint this detailed before.
Okay, maybe I presented this wrong, but option number 3 is no action for the council, right? That's us doing it, just,
There was an option 3, we took it out, because it wasn't really an option.
right, it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, and sorry if I presented that.
No, I missed that there was an or there
Okay.
after option 2.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Flynn?
Speaking of options, you were in front of us 5-6 months ago?
4 months ago.
4 months ago, okay,
Mhm.
thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
said that you were gonna buy the building downtown here and move the thrift store downtown and turn that current
Not
location
buy.
into transitional.
Yeah, not buy,
Bought,
but rent.
lease, rent, whatever.
Yeah,
What happened to that plan?
after receiving, some letters in the mail, I was not gonna put my family or the thrift store in that, it was not in favor. Let's just say, I got some really angry letters that my thrift store was not welcome downtown. So, you know, you gotta pick your battles, so,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So where's the thrift store now?
It's staying there.
So, forgive me,
There's 2 buildings on the property.
I guess I hate to ask this, but like, how deep are your pockets? Like, you have a board now.
Mhm.
Why, you say you'll pay these off. Can you address the thing on social media from your recent employee of 6 years? Do you know what I'm referring to?
A disgruntled employee. Yeah, we were in the process of actually replacing her.
She claimed that the checks were never, that they were bad checks, so.
I cannot speak to what that slander is. The lawyer is already preparing. The problem is that she had a problem with the homeless. She had a problem with me hiring the homeless and giving them jobs for job training to be able to go get jobs somewhere else.
You know, that seems odd because she's been your employee for 6 years and this seems to be a recent parting of the ways with you, and the homeless have been there since I've been here, so.
Well, I mean, if you want, I can bring all my employees up here or bring all the paperwork and all the letters that were submitted of all the complaining that she was doing. She was upset that how come they get free deodorant, I have to pay for my deodorant, how come they get free razors? The constant on and on and on. And that's why we were in the process of replacing her, and she quit prior to. And her daughter also worked there. And she gave me a doctor's note that was forged. I called the doctors and they never even wrote that note.
Are your, are your land contract payments current?
Oh, yes.
Councilman Morrissey?
Hey, I have a question for Mr. Thompson. Just to clarify the planning commission's duties if this comes before them. My understanding is that they would submit a site plan, and then the site plan would list any variances that they might need, and the planning commission could grant variances, and then that plan, if it was approved by the site plan was approved by the planning commission, would then come back to council for their final approval. Is that pretty much the way it works, or please correct me?
Yes, and the planning commission, because I do believe in that district, it's a special use or conditional use.
Yes.
So, I mean, basically, the posture would come in front of the planning commission would be an application for a conditional use permit. So, I mean, you could look at, are there any conditions that you're gonna place on it? That sort of thing would be part of the main focus, right? Is this something that is a special use that's allowable as a special use in the district? And then if it is, under what conditions are we going to approve the application?
Yeah, that's the way it works in New Jersey too. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Morrissey. Any other questions for Mrs. Desjardins? Councilman Soha?
I'd just like to address the complaint. The complaint was brought in public comment tonight.
Oh, about the party?
about the partying afterwards.
okay.
Those are ongoing complaints that have been,
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you my password and you guys can watch it on the Nest cams.
so there's no, what the complaints are saying is that when the thrift store closes, there's no oversight.
There is somebody there who's a paid employee who stays there.
What the complaints are saying is that there's no oversight and that it's a party. Apple Run Apartments have come in here multiple times, residents saying they have no respect for the apartment people.
Well, and I
They're-
do think we
they're
live in a
yelling,
world where you're innocent
they're
until
yelling,
proven guilty.
They're using profanity, they're creating bonfires. I don't know how many, I didn't think to ask the police to bring forward how many responses first responder responses we've had to have at that specific address in the last 2.5 years, but I'm pretty confident to say it's well above normal. And the things that our fire department have told me that they've witnessed there, the things that some police officers have told me they've witnessed there are incongruent to any health or safety. How are you going to overcome these objections? For 2.5 years, you've been coming here saying you're going to do something. You got a board together in 2.5 years. Congratulations for that. We have been overlooking a law that's been being broken for 2.5 years. You've had people housed in a place that has no use and occupancy permit. Now, the reason that I say that is because I was saying tents, and then I had one of my accountability partners come up here and tell me that there's no ordinance against camping or tents on property. Well, no, there's not. But there's use and occupancy permits for permanent residents on property in the city of Hillsdale. And you also are zoned for commercial, not for having people in tents on the land. And, you know, these complaints keep coming. Some of your neighbors who have come here multiple times, one's here tonight, he was disparaged because of the rat situation at the apartments. These things at the Apple Run Apartments never happened before 2.5 years ago.
So does that make it true?
It's very coincidental.
It's not coincidental. It's all hearsay until proven. We had Orkin come. Do you want that man to come up here and explain to you that he scoured the whole entire property?
It's very coincidental that these things have happened.
It's not coincidence. They don't want him there. Not in my backyard.
We have residents, our constituents have come here and told us that they are not respected, that they feel, the gentleman tonight said a lady was sitting in the Apple Run Apartments, just sitting there and had to have the police come to request her to leave. These things hadn't happened before. I am not confident that you are going to complete the task. And I also revisited one of your statements that you came when you were really frustrated, probably with me specifically, and I appreciate that. But you said, I don't know if the city deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your motivation?
What is my motivation? When I meant the city, I meant you guys. Not its constituents and its residents.
You came up here and you lecture us,
Mm-hmm.
and I've never disagreed with your intent. I've never disagreed with that. Public policy and private philanthropy have been conflated in this city for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
It is not our responsibility to make sure a person has a bed to sleep on city council.
And yet here we are.
The condescension towards me when I'm speaking is palatable, and I
But
don't
it's also,
appreciate
you're the only one that's speaking to me this way out of everybody up there.
Because for 2.5 years you've been telling council things, and 2.5 years later, we're still getting complaints about the...
And I'm sure you will get them for forever. I installed cameras. I will just record all of it, put it on a drive, and you guys can watch it whenever you want.
So here's something else.
Yes.
I listened to you and didn't interrupt you.
Well, I guess
Could I
when you're
do the
getting
same?
accused of things, it's hard.
Okay. Anything else, Councilman Soha?
Unless another council, I want a motion for A.
Option number 1?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm of the opinion that, I'll second, say that if we had just been enforcing this law that's on the books for years now, we wouldn't be in this situation. Missy wouldn't have done all this work. It wouldn't have been, it wouldn't have arrived at this problem that we're at now. At some point, we have to figure it out, and I think that night is now, so.
Thank you, Councilman Bruns, that's a very good point. Delaying the enforcement of law can cause harm to all parties. Anything else for?
Yeah, thank you.
All
Am I
set?
done?
Anything else for Mrs. Tischer? Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. We have a motion and a second for option A. We want to read it again just so everyone's clear. Post the tent structure as unsafe for occupancy. Begin eviction proceedings against the campers and remove the non-compliant structure as authorized by the consent judgment. And as we learned, this will also entail further legal action as Mr. Thompson described. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bentley.
Another dumb question. If this fails, we still have option two?
Yes. Yep. That's right. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Councilperson Morrissey,
No.
Sopar,
Yes.
Stuchel,
No.
Wolfram,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Palladino,
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley,
Yes.
Councilperson Bruns,
Yes.
and Flynn.
Yes.
5-3, that passes.
Thank you very much. Thank you, council and staff, for that discussion. We will move on to Roman numeral 8, Old Business, Kiefer House Hotel LLC, Oprah Resolution Amendment. So the Kiefer House, CL Red came forward last meeting and said that they would like an extension through the end of the year, but we didn't have the paperwork. Now we have the paperwork and we can act on the resolution. Hey,
Good evening. Let me give you a very quick update just on the status over there. We've had some great weeks this past few weeks, getting all the inspections that we desperately needed to get the drywall going. We've had a flurry of work. I could barely walk through there today with all the drywallers and the electricians and the carpenters and the mechanical, and it's just been a great few weeks. We've made up quite a bit of time. So we're on the right path now.
Thank you very much for your work. Are there any questions or comments from council? Councilman Flynn.
Just curious then, are we still on the timeline to have an occupancy permit by the end of the year?
That's the timeline that I'm on right now, yes.
Councilman Bentley.
Did you say the elevator, or how's the elevator coming?
Elevator's coming along great. It's in, it's not complete. I have to now finish the masonry around all the doors that are in, the cars in. It's just a matter of getting commissioned. So that is not my critical path right now. So.
But they're actively working on that too?
They've gotten as far as they can right now until I do some additional masonry work. But everything else is in. They just have to come back and commission it.
Okay. Any other council members? Staff? All set? We've talked about this one a lot. Okay, so temporary permit in November, December.
Yes.
And hopefully a spring or early
Before that.
or late winter
Yes.
opening.
That's correct.
Very good. Anything else from council? I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the proposed resolution. Support.
Motion on the floor from Councilman Morrissey, seconded by Councilman Stuchel. Any further discussion? Councilman Bentley.
I just want to establish again, it's December 31st this time.
That's correct.
That's correct. I'll say briefly again why I'm voting yes and have in the past. I think the primary purpose of an OPRA is to prevent public properties from becoming or private properties, from becoming a public burden. I think they have already accomplished that. I am less concerned about the economic development aspect of that. I don't think that's council's primary concern. Our concern is making sure the building is not falling over, and they have accomplished that goal. Councilman Bentley.
Sorry, I just remembered, and maybe Jason or Nick can speak to North Street, when's that on the schedule?
So
And is there going to be a clock with accountability?
there is, the status of that right now is that the engineer of record is currently reviewing the underwater or underground retention system tanks themselves. As soon as he approves that, I'll get with Jason and we'll get that scheduled. So it's in the hands of my engineers right now, just making sure that the system is what is being proposed by the general contractor and the subs, or what is designed.
And is there I'm sorry, you're probably gonna ask this, but is there a general timeline? You think that will take a week, 2 weeks, a month?
It should be hopefully by Tuesday of next week, I have that approval.
No, I meant once you start the project.
Oh, once I started, the impact to North Street shouldn't be more than a week.
Thank you.
Because it's just one shot right into the middle of the street.
So I don't know how we might do this, but you're here and Jason's here and we're all here. Is there some way that there will be penalties after, say, 10 days, 2 weeks? I don't want the road closed indefinitely like how it was. That's what I mean.
We discussed that, and then we didn't add that to the last Public Services Committee agenda because we were talking about something else, but we were gonna discuss that, but it's probably too short notice to change anything for this project, unless, please.
So, yes, we talked about this before, but we believe that storm can be done in 2 different phases. One day, setting the structure, stubbing out the tile, closing that up, and then moving to the next lane as well. So it'd be just hopefully a 1 day full closure, and move to one single lane, and then move to the single lane all within the same week, and then be done after that. I think that's it.
Oh, so it won't be closed.
No, just for one day full closure, then single the next couple.
Okay, great, so we don't need to act on a new policy in the short term. Councilman Flynn?
And are you taking weather into consideration since we're now into October?
I'm sorry?
Are you taking weather into consideration if we get an odd early snow or something like that?
No, the frost level wouldn't hit until February, so that's not an issue.
Okay, thank you.
It'd have to be a pretty drastic, yeah, right.
Very good, Mr. Mackey?
Jason, I know there was one thing that you wanted to say if you
Yes.
come up. I think it has to do with the timing of the asphalt.
Yes, and Nick, I've got to talk to you about this yet. So I would like to see that plan if we can soon, because our concern is our Jonesville plant is considerably, they're first ones in Michigan goes down. End of October, correct. So if we can get those plans and get that going in the next week, so we can get something concrete, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess no road work in the winter, right?
Well, the asphalt plant's shut down at the end of October. Weather dependent. If it's a warm October, November, they'll stay open a little bit longer.
But it's 86 degrees on
That's
October
right.
6th?
Yeah, they'll take any business they can get.
Okay, very good. Anything else from council?
What's up?
65 tomorrow.
65 tomorrow.
All set. Okay, thank you very much for being here. Good to see you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Could I have a roll call vote?
Yes, Councilperson Soha.
Yes.
Stuchel?
Yes.
Wolfram?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Palladino?
Yes.
Councilperson Bentley?
Yes.
Bruns?
No.
Flynn?
Yes.
And Morrissey?
Yes.
7-1, that's approved, resolution 3651.
Thank you very much.